everyone, and welcome to the Metanoia Effect. This is episode number 3, but we're not going to count because I get weird with numbers. Robert, Portia, I hope you guys had a good weekend. I'm super excited to have this conversation today. So we're going to start out. Go ahead.
I was going to say technically this is episode 2. Because I screwed up last week, so this is technically 2. Then next Mondays will be 3.
You know what? Let's not confuse anybody more than I already am.
Either way, we're here with our audience, y'all. It don't matter whether it's episode 3 gajillion. We're here. We're present. We're around like donuts somewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you, Portia, for reframing that for us.
Love it.
So I was thinking over the weekend, we wanted to come up with 3 questions that we could talk about on today's episode. And I was in my kitchen thinking, I have this huge love of dogs. And anybody that knows me knows this. And I was thinking, I've heard people say in the past, oh my gosh, I got bit by a dog once. And so I'm scared of dogs. So I'm weird. I've literally gone to the hospital and had 60 stitches in my face and multiple hospital visits, breaking up dog fights. And I still keep bringing in more and more dogs. And I was wondering, what is it in me that doesn't have that same experience? Like, oh, I'm afraid of dogs now. It's like, oh, okay, that happened. So that was my experience. What is one experience in your life that could have closed your heart, but instead it awakened something deeper in you? And that's numerous experiences for me, is like getting bit by dogs, having to be in the hospital, getting the stitches, and still loving dogs. And I never closed my heart. So Portia, can you tell us about a situation that you might have had in your life where you could have closed your heart, but instead it transformed you?
Oh, that's a good one, because I could go into 2 stories, but I'm going to stick with my TV career because, Dawn, you know how much that experience devastated me. That was my dream. My dream was to climb the ladder at the news station I was at. And when that dream was deferred, I was done. I couldn't do anything creative anymore. I couldn't pick up a pen and write. Photography has been in my space since I was 9 when my mom bought me my first camera. Those of you remember Kodak, if it's still around. That was the first camera I had. And even doing photography, it just scarred me so bad. But what opened my heart again, Dawn, believe it or not, I give a special shout out to a mutual connection of ours, Miss Gail Flowers. Gail Flowers, who obviously, Dawn, used to produce your show before I did. She had a conversation with me one day. She said, Portia, I know that you're busy. I know that you have a lot on your plate, because at that time my mom was actively transitioning. She might have already transitioned by then. But she encouraged me. She said, Portia, do me a favor. We want to promote your show on my platforms. Can you go and shoot a 30-second commercial? No obligation, but I want to encourage you to do it. And I remember, Dawn, sitting in my room and I had my camera equipment right there. And I said, I got some time. I can get up, run to the park, take my lavalier mic, shoot a quick commercial. And that's what I did. I went to the park, took my Nikon D5300 that I still have, my tripod, my lavalier mic, put on my favorite red leather jacket that's in my headshots that people ask me to buy all the time if they can get it. And I shot the commercial. I did 2 or 3 takes, no script or anything. And that adrenaline, that creative wheel, that seed that Gail planted for me was what I needed to step in to where I am today. Now I just got a new client today, believe it or not. And because I said yes, I think I needed that reminder of the gifts and the talents that I have, that one experience, because even Gail had a similar experience as me in TV. We were both at the same network at different times. And she would never even put it on her resume. She'd never even tell anybody that she worked there because her experience, again, scarred her. Where me, I needed someone to remind me. Dawn, you talk about reminding us of who we are, where we were. And I needed her to tell me that So that experience really changed the trajectory for me, Dawn, was Gail.
Oh, she was an angel. She is
Man,
an angel.
she was. Shout out to Gail Flowers. We miss you. We love you.
Yes, yes. Robert, what about you?
As I'm listening to Portia, like, God, there's so many avenues I could go here. There was so many things that have shaped me and molded me. But one of the biggest ones, of course, the knee story, being told I would never run or jump again, because I've met other people who had the injury that I had, that was their reality. And I decided to not adopt that, to not accept that diagnosis. Because in that moment, it could have completely changed the trajectory of my future had I just listened to that doctor, right? Had I just listened to the physical therapist and just did everything little by little. And again, not telling people don't listen to your doctor, don't listen to your therapist. I'm just saying this is what I did. And since that one surgery, I've had 7 others, and I've defied the odds in all of them. So how was that relevant? Right? The relevant is that we tend to put these limitations on ourselves. And we say, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not smart enough for that. I don't have enough education for this. When in reality, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Like, I mentor people with PhDs and masters, and I dropped out of college. So using that experience there of someone with a PhD telling me that I'm never going to run or jump again. And I was like, we haven't even had the surgery. It's like, how do you know how I'm going to heal? Anyone that follows me on any platform knows I say all the time that the mind controls the body. So whatever you think, the body's going to respond accordingly. So if you think it's going to take you a year to heal, it's going to take you a year to heal. When I had my knee replacement in January, I said I'm going to be doing an obstacle race within 6 months. And my race is Saturday coming up. And which is almost exactly 6 months. It's like 6.5 months. And it's just one of those things. You can call it manifestation. You can call it speaking it into what do you call it? Speaking it into existence. You can call it the universe at work. You can call it God and faith. Whatever you call it, the outcome is the same. So I could have taken that moment. Whatever I focused on in that moment is what was going to come to play. And I chose to focus on defying those odds.
Yeah. And it's my mindset is so powerful. And I've heard a quote, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
Either way. Right. And so I think it's very powerful. And what we think and what we tell ourselves. Now, there are certain things, right, that that it's not going to apply to you, but the way we experience everything is going to shape how we feel about it. And our emotions, our energies in motion, right? And so they also fuel everything that we do every single day. So, Portia, I loved when you talked about the fact that devastation of having that dream like taken away from you, it literally stopped something inside of you from doing those things that you loved. And I love that Gail was able to reach you on that level. But I think we're given these skills and these talents and these loves and these desires for a reason. And so Gail was the moving factor to get you to realize that again. But had you not had that conversation with Gail, do you think that would have changed your trajectory, or do you think eventually you would have come back to that place?
Dawn, that's a good question. I'll be honest. I think at some point eventually I would have made it there, but I felt I needed it from her. Because I know shortly after that, she transitioned from us. Right. And so that was, to me, the gift I needed from her. Because, mind you, I think that was right after my mom had transitioned, before my dad. So her giving me that ounce of joy in one of the most sorrowful moments in my life, I needed that. And it stuck. Because as you remember, Dawn, during the biggest season of my grief when my mom transitioned, the thing that helped me was 2 things. Community. Obviously, you were one of them because you got to meet my mom. You knew who she was. The other thing was expressing my grief. I was very open about it, and I still am on social media. about my grief, because I believe that when we share what we're going through, the worst part of you is the best part of you. And so many people hold on to the hard parts and the bad parts of their loved one's journey, and they forget about all the memories and the imprints and lessons that they've taken from them that made them smile. And so that's why I'm very big on it today, talking about we're coming up on my mom's 4-year transition anniversary. And a picture of us popped up today on my social media. And it made me smile and cry at the same time. It made me smile because I remember her getting out of the house with us. And yeah, she had her oxygen, all her equipment, but I got to see her smile. I got to take her with us. We got to laugh again about the random people in our life. Dawn, you think I'm funny? My mom had a nickname for everybody in our family, and some of them were not very nice, but they were hilarious. Dawn, you know the story about my mom taking my granny to her appointments, and my mom would have to write her little notes so she wouldn't be insulting at the appointments, and she would read them out loud. So we would we would laugh at things like that. So to answer your question, I think Gail's words were what I needed in that time because I was open to receive. That's the thing that I've noticed with people who are grieving. They're open to receive something genuine and not platitudes. Where, yeah, I would have gotten there eventually, but I think in that season, that was what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next question, and Robert, I want to start with you on this, is what did that experience teach you about who you are, what you value, and how you're meant to show up in the world? And I want to preface that with saying, you talked in another episode about how you had a stutter when you were young, and you were scrawny and little, and all those things. Were you always this person, or was it at that moment with the surgery that you realized how powerful your mind was?
Ever since I was a freshman, remember the part of the story where the coach told me I didn't have what it took to be a high jumper? Like, that's what jump started it. So I got rid of the stutter, or I got the stutter under control, because every now and then it'll slip out now, but I have it under control. So that was maybe 2 years prior to that happening. So I was leading into that direction of increasing my self-belief and my self-confidence, my self-esteem. So when the coach said those words, it just flipped a switch in me. Like, not even about him. Like, I don't do things to prove other people wrong. I'm just like, don't doubt me. I don't want me to doubt me. So just because they say I can't do this doesn't mean I can't do this. Right? So that's what jump started it. And as far as how it changes how I show up, when I'm working with others, I use my stories not to highlight myself, but to let them know possible is real, right? Possible is real. And with that, I did a consultation a week or two ago, and this woman comes in and she's like, I can't squat. And I was like, who told you you can't squat? She said, well, the physical therapist and the doctor. I said, and why did you accept that? And she looked at me like I had 5 heads, right? And so I said, come over here. I got a 12-inch plyo box. I sat it down. I said, sit down. So she sits down. I said, now stand up. She stands up. I said, sit down again. Right? We did that 5 times. I said, you just did 5 squats. 30 seconds after telling me you can't squat. And she was like, oh my God, I did. She's like, I did. I said, yes, the problem is you were telling yourself that you can't do it, and your body responded accordingly. If you tell yourself you can do something, again, your body's going to respond accordingly. So she left that session on cloud 9 because there wasn't anything wrong with her, going back to me and the stutter and the being skinny and the buck teeth and all of that, thinking there was something wrong with me. And I believed that for the first decade of my life. And in the span of 30 seconds, without even mentioning the word squat or anything motivational or inspirational, I just had her do something to get her mind off of squatting. And she ended up doing 5. I think we ended up doing 3 or 4 sets, I want to say, that very first consultation. Like, she wasn't even a client yet. That was still at consultation stage. So I take my stories of all the things that I've overcome, all the odds I've defied, and I use those to help other people increase their own belief in themselves.
Yeah.
And I love
How did
that.
she respond to that?
Say that again.
How did she respond to that? Did you see more confidence in her once she realized what she had just done?
Oh, she was shocked. She was shocked. The look on her face when I said, "You just did 5 squats," because I didn't put it into her conscious mind that she was going to do it. All I said, I went to her subconscious. You know how to sit, right? So I said, just sit. And so she didn't think about it. She just sat and she stood, not realizing she was squatting. A little bit of a, reverse psychology there.
No, that's
When
awesome.
you gave her the opportunity to, Robert, to not think about the I can't. Let's prove it wrong the Coach Robert way.
Yeah.
Right? We all know how to sit in a chair. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't make her do burpees after that, but that's a whole nother.
Baby steps.
But I think we've all been there essentially. And Dawn, I guess I'm next in the hot seat. That experience with Gail, my TV career, first of all, my TV career taught me a lot. It taught me how to be able to have multiple plans available at one time. When plan A fails, I've got all the way through plan D. The other thing that it taught me too was to pivot. I think a lot of people forget that skills are transferable and you can pivot into any industry. One of my friends said it best: if you understand the fundamentals of anything, you've mastered the game. And I understand the fundamentals of production. So I can pivot any of those skills that I learned in TV to anything. The other thing it taught me with Gail was Gail reminded me to be who I am, that I'm enough as Portia. She said, go to the park, record this commercial. And I used to do things unscripted all the time, and I still do. And I needed to practice that. I needed to do that to kind of like, Robert, to your point with this lady with the squat. I needed to remind myself that I was capable, that this is who I was born to be. And it taught me to value those conversations. Dawn, I told you that I have a recording of Gail and I one time when we were meeting with someone, and the person came on the Zoom call, not with the name that we knew them by. The name that we knew them by was a nickname. But then they came on the Zoom call with their government name. I'm like, who is this? and then the person says, oh, that's my government name. Her government name was like Joy Smith, but she went by like Pebbles, something like that. But I was like, both of us shared that laugh, right? So I think for me, it's valuing the people who remind you of who you are, and taking the skills that you learned and being able to transfer them into any avenue. And it also taught me too that Portia's unstoppable, that Portia's always been competitive. I just needed that flame relit again during that season.
I love that. And for me, what those many experiences, like all the different dog fights, I remember one time in particular. So I had a dog that we rescued from Puerto Rico. I know that's very crazy, but I did bring a dog from Puerto Rico. And for whatever reason, my dog Lola did not like him. I don't know if it's because he loved me so much, or if it's because she realized that he was kind of like that wild, dog from a different place. I don't know what it was, but she would jump in and like start attacking him, and then the other dogs. And I had 6 dogs at the time. But so we get all these dogs on one dog. And if I didn't jump in to stop that, they would have killed him. Right. And I remember my ex-husband saying, why do you jump in to that mix? And I'm like, why? How could I not? Like, there's not even a mental thought in my head. It's literally just a reflex. It's like, they're going to kill my dog. I'm going to get in there. So it taught me that I value, and I will protect, I will risk my own safety to show up for somebody I love. So that's kind of what that shows me about my character, without even a thought, a thought in my mind. It's literally just reflex. So that was that.
Yeah, let me add some to that. One thing I've realized as I've gotten more and more into this personal development stage, that we each have a duty. We each have a superpower. And it's, if you think of like Superman or Batman, whatever, right? They have duty. So when things are going on, you have a duty to use your superpower. I'll just give a quick example. I was at an obstacle race. Now, I usually do these with my clients. So typically I'm in coach mode. Like the people who want to go fast, we let them go fast, and I stay back with the newer people and make sure everybody gets through everything safely. So I had the opportunity to run one solo. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me push and see how fast I can get myself through this. Because I haven't done that in years. So I'm coming down the mountain to the final couple obstacles. I get to the rope climb. I go up and down, and then I only have a little stretch left. But there was a woman with her hands on the rope, and she was sobbing. Right? So I started to run off to finish, and I was like, I can't. Like, that's when that duty hit. I was like, this is a coaching moment. She needs my superpower. So I go over, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's crying. She's like, I can't do it. I said, has anyone ever taught you how to lock in? And she's like, no. I said, okay, so it's not that you can't do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so I teach her how to lock in. She goes up a little bit, and then she comes back down. She's like, I can't do it. I said, I'm not letting you quit. I'm like, you're getting to the top of this rope. So she starts going. She gets about halfway, and she just like yells. And she's like, it hurts. I said, good, you're in pain. Now get the reward. Right? It's like, you want to be in pain for nothing, right? Finish the task. And so she goes up a little bit more, and again, she yells again. I'm like, you're not done till you ring that bell. And she keeps going again. She rings the bell. She comes down, and again, sobbing. And she's like, oh my God, can I hug you? And I was like, yes, you can. And that, 2 to 3 minute interaction meant more than the other 4 hours in the race, or regardless of what my time is. So knowing what your superpower is, you have a duty to use it when it's called for.
Yeah. Robert, again, that reminds me of Lightning McQueen in Cars in the first episode, because remember, he didn't finish the race to get the trophy that he wanted. He made sure that the one who was the victor all the time finished his last race before he retired.
Yes. That's what it's about. Like, people forget, like, when you're called to help other people, I mean, yes, we need our own personal space too, but just in those moments, like, I would have felt terrible if I just left her there and went to what? To finish a race. You know what I mean? Where she's there having a moment of crisis. So I had to put that personal thing aside and tend to her. And she found me in the festival area afterwards, and she was like, thank you so much for that. Like, that's what it's about.
Robert, mind you, that's the rope, right, that we had to climb up in gym class to reach the ceiling?
Yes.
Is that the same?
Similar. These are a little thinner at Spartan Race, but similar.
That's what I pictured too.
Yeah, I'm thinking, is that the rope, the old one that you would play tug of war, and then you had to climb up and...
Yeah, the good old days.
Well, and I think I love that, because that leads us into our last question for today. Where in your life have you become the person you once needed, and how is that now becoming love in motion? Portia, do you want to start, or Robert, do you want to?
Either.
I can start. Wait, so that should be you. Remember, the one who says it dealt it, so it should be you, Dawn. But no, I can go. I would say the person who Portia needed is showing up today. Because I remember at one point in my life, I wasn't putting Portia first. I wasn't selfish enough. And so me really taking the time to say, you know what, I don't want to take a client call today. Or sometimes I will late at night if someone calls me and I look at my phone and I'm like, man, I'm tired. But to your point, Robert, about the superpower, people call me because I'm a safe space for them. I listen. For example, the other day, I have several male friends who are fathers who have lost their only kid. And I remembered to wish them a happy Father's Day, because I don't want them to feel that the rest of the world has forgotten that they left an imprint on this world with their kid, no matter how long or how short of a time they had them. But most people don't go the extra mile, Dawn, like what we said. Most people would just bypass that. But I wanted these individuals to remember and to remind them that they're loved. They are still a father. Even though their kid has transitioned physically, they still carry them around with them. So that's how I put love into motion today, is being that safe space for people, because I was there. I know what it's like to want to have that connection, for people to remember my sorrow days. So I want to be that person for other people.
Love that. And
I want to go next,
you know,
because that just.
Go ahead.
Well, when I was little, I remember, I think I was maybe 5, and my mom had a sewing machine, and I was playing with the sewing machine because, yeah, it's a machine, does things, and the needle went down through my nail. And instead of me calling out for my mom, I know it was terrible, and it was little, I remember calling my sister, who was little. Oh, there we go. And hiding. Yes. I was afraid to tell my mom because I thought I was going to get in trouble on top of being hurt. And all the work I do today, whether it is my work with my foundation in Africa, or being a big sister, or being a court-appointed special advocate, I want to show up as that safe space for children. So the experiences I had in my young life affected me, the person that I am today, because it's like, not on my watch. No child is going to feel like they're unloved, that they're unsafe, and they're unseen. And that drives like so much of what I do today. So that's my story.
Dawn, I can attest to that also, because I still remember, Dawn, I think I asked you one time what I should wear. I think it was to a job interview. I forget what it was that I was going to, some event, and you told me, just be Portia. I needed that reminder, because normally I would ask my mom, like, hey, Ma, what do you think about this? But you were that person to remind me to just be you, be comfortable with who you are and in your own skin.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. How about you, Robert?
So of course you all know I'm about those bold takes. So I'm where I am needed to be, in the gym, on the podcast, coaching my athletes. I want to say, I think I have 7 or 8 seniors, and every one of them are competing in college next year. High jumpers, I have 12, and one of them I only had for a week and a half, but I had 12 high jumpers, and 11 of them qualified for states. One of them was triple jump state champion, multiple personal bests, and it's not even from me training them. It's the mental edge. Like, I've seen so many kids. There's actually a couple on my team. They're talented, but they lack the drive. You know, they're talented, but they just don't believe in themselves. You know, things of that. I think that's the biggest piece that I bring to everything that I do. Like in the gym, challenging people to do a longer wall sit, hold that plank longer, run around the building without stopping. Like an actual conversation I had with someone, you know, back to my shut up and grind life. You know, she's like, I don't think I can run all the way around the building without stopping it. I said, okay, good. Stop thinking about it and just go do it. Like sometimes it's not deep, profound scientific stuff that you need. Sometimes it's very simple. Like one of my distance runners a couple years ago in New England, he was seated 12th. And before his race, you know, all these other coaches are talking about cadence and breathing and all this other stuff. And I put my arm around him and said, Cole, you're seated 12th. Fix it. That was the whole speech. He ended up second. I said, you get out there and you fix it. That's it. You know, so with me, helping people just keep their eye on the goal. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Like I see it with a lot of coaches. They give so much information to their athletes before their event. It's like, that's what practice is for. You do all that stuff in practice. On the day of the meet, you're the cheerleader. You know, they're gonna have race day nerves. That's where we step in and be like, you know what, today is the day. And then if they don't have a good performance, because it happens, right? Nobody PRs every single day, which is a personal record, right? Nobody does it every single meet. But if it does, hey, listen, keep your head up. You're healthy. We're gonna get back to the drawing board this week, and then on Saturday, that's the day, for the next track meet. And being able to, because we have a big track team. I think we have 66 boys and 82 girls, I want to say. So we have a big team. And being able to keep everyone focused on the ones who are the most focused, put it that way. Every group's going to have some drifters, but we're working on them. But I think we gotta be willing to tell people the truth. When you're doing great, I'm gonna tell you you're doing great. When you're dragging ass, I'm gonna tell you you're dragging ass. Because I don't believe in sugarcoating. It's like people need to hear the truth. It is what it is. Myself included. Like if I suck at something one day, I own. Wow, today was not my day, but we're gonna make tomorrow better, and always keep that eye on the prize.
Oh, I love that. And that's a good reminder, and it's a good closing place for us today, is about believing in yourself, and don't let an off day change you forever, right? There's another day, you have more chances, so keep going no matter what it is that you're doing. So
I want to
thank you all for joining.
Really quick. I want to add something to that too, Dawn, because I think Robert really emphasized simplicity, because sometimes we get so caught up in all the clatter, all the noise, when it's go fix that number 12. You weren't telling them to get to number 1. You said fix number 12. I think so many of us get so caught up in the whirlwind of all the clatter that we forget how simple things really are.
I agree.
And then again, giving ourselves the grace to say tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it again. And I think that is like the best wisdom that you can give anybody. So anyway, thank you both for being here today. Thank you all for joining us on the Metanoia Effect. I always say that wrong. And we will see you next Monday at 11 Pacific.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.